Hi everybody, I have another project for you today. We will be making some fun earrings out of fabric. So you're going to need some different things. You're going to need about a 6-inch piece of fabric, any sort of pattern that you like, but it should be cotton and you don't want it to be like stretchy. You want it to kind of keep its shape. You'll also need some scissors, some kind of marker or chalk, a needle and thread, some earring hooks, some spray starch, and a piece of paper to make a pattern, and an iron. So when it comes to the ironing part, you may need an adult's help. But to start, we're just going to take our piece of paper, and I'm going to fold a small bit of it. And you don't need a full sheet of paper. You can use a piece that's, even smaller. Even like a 6x6 piece to match your fabric is fine. So I'm going to cut that little bit out so that I've got a nice square rectangle when I open it up, and it's smaller so it's easier to work with. Okay, so I've got pretty much a square. I'm going to take it, I'm going to fold it back up. On your folded edge, you want to lay that down, and from there we're going to make sort of a leaf shape. So I'm just going to draw that on. I want it to come out kind of wide. So that it's going to be a nice wide leaf instead of a super sort of long skinny leaf. And then bow back in. So that's what it looks like. I'm going to cut that out. And then we'll open it up and show you what it looks like opened up. But cutting it this way is going to ensure that we have a symmetric shape so that everything kind of matches up for us. And when I open it, I get this sort of like rounded bow tie look. Okay, I'm going to take that, I'm going to fold it back up the way I had it, and I'm going to cut from that folded edge at an angle toward this outside edge. And I want to try to make sure that my angled cuts are parallel with each other and that they stop before they get to the edge. You don't want to go all the way to the edge because then you'll cut your piece apart. So you want to give yourself 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch of space at the edge. But because it's a rounded shape, it's going to go a little bit closer to the edge each time. And you can measure this if you want. I'm not, and it should be okay. But I am trying to sort of eyeball it and make sure that my cuts are pretty similar in size. You don't want one piece to be super big and one piece to be super little. So I've got my cuts made, and I'm just going to take this very middle corner and cut that off. Okay? So then when I open it, I've got this sort of thing going on. And what we're going to do is we're going to open it and put these two pieces together and sew them, and then you've got a cool sort of fiery looking earring. But this is just our pattern. We're going to be making that out of fabric. And I'm going to take the back of my fabric to start, and I'm going to take the spray starch. So you want to shake it up. Hold it 6 to 8 inches above your piece of fabric, and in a gentle sort of wave movement, you want to make sure that your fabric is covered. Okay. And you can see it's kind of starting to curl up, and this is where we're going to iron it. So we're going to start in the middle and kind of work our way outward. And you want to make sure that you don't have any edges folded under, because we want this to be nice and crisp and nice and flat. Starch is really going to help it hold its shape. So we're going to make sure our piece of fabric is nice and crisp. So you can see it's already a little stiffer, a little bit more paper-like. If you've got any loose threads, you can trim them. And we're going to repeat that starching step, but from the front this time. Okay, so that's done. I'm going to set my iron off to the side to cool and just shut that off. Okay, so it's got more of that paper sound. It's nice and stiff, so that's going to hold its shape much better. So we can now take our piece of fabric and on the back side, take our pattern, and we're going to trace the shape twice so that we have 2 earrings. And you can use a marker, you can use some sort of pencil. Chalk works really well. If you do a marker, I'm going to recommend outlining with dots rather than doing a hard outline. So I've got my patterns traced. I'm going to cut those out. And then you can almost fold it like you did the paper. Because you've starched it, it's going to keep its shape that way. You just want to make sure that you are lining up your edges. Because if you don't, you're going to get a little wonky shape. Okay, and we can do the same thing where we cut from this cut from this middle outward toward the leaf side. And I'm going to go ahead and cut my inner point off and use that as a guide to go with the rest of them. So because you're doing a pair of earrings, they're going to look more like a pair if you do the same number of cuts. So you just want to try to keep track of how many cuts you're making here. Then we can open that up. And we've got the same thing that we had in paper out of fabric. So now I'm going to take it and fold my 2 points up. And if I squish it a little bit, those little fire sort of points come out. So you don't want to squish it too much, but just a little bit. And I'm going to actually just sew these 2 points together and add my earring hook. So I've got a needle and thread. Need to tie a knot at the end. And you can see I don't have a lot of thread. I don't really need very much here. And I'm going to start by putting my needle through one side and sandwiching that end in the middle, and then folding it back up and doing a few stitches. So I'm just going to do sort of a little X with stitches here, and that should hold it just fine. So we got an itty bitty teeny tiny little X there. And now I'm just going to attach an earring hook. So you can attach a jump ring if you want, but you don't have to. I think I'm going to have it hang this way, so that makes it really easy to attach the hook. You just want to be careful not to poke yourself with the needle. So I just kind of tucked the earring hook right in that corner, and I'm just going to sew through that spot a few more times to make sure it's nice and secure. And I'm just going to sort of squish it one more time, get those edges to pop out. And you've got a cool earring, and it's nice and light because it's just made out of fabric. It's not heavy like something out of plastic or metal would be of this size. So it's nice and light, and it almost looks sort of like a palm leaf. It's kind of cool. So there you go. You're all set.